Let's talk about global and local variables. So I'm going to create another Xcode project. And again, this is going to be a single view application. I'm going to call this global variables. Click next. I'm going to save it in my Bootcamp folder. Now let's close on the side panels here. Actually, this one we need. So I'm not going to change anything here. We are just going to play with the code. So we are going to our viewcontroller.swift file. And as you can see, we have this class here. So every view controller is a separate class where whatever happens between these two parentheses, curly braces, it happens inside our class. So for example, if I say var name is equals to Mike, and then for example here, which is my view controller, which is a function, if I want to access this name, I can do this. So if I say name equals to James, this is perfectly valid, because whatever we declare inside our class but not in the function, this variable, or let's say age is equals to 10, we can access this anywhere inside our class. So these are global variable for our class here. But for example, you can say print, and I can pass my age here, and this will print it perfectly. So we can access these variables or constants that are global. But for example, let's say if I say var my name is equals to Andy, and this variable is declared in my viewDidLoad function. So this variable is not available to any other class or any other function outside of this view. So for example, if I have a func here called test func, and if I try to access my name value, so if I say my name is equals to John, this is not going to work because there is no variable called my name here. So now Xcode is complaining that there is unresolved identifier my name because this doesn't exist. But if I try to access the name and say this is equals to John, this will be perfectly fine because the name variable here is a global variable, while my name is declared inside this function and it's available only inside this function. There is another thing here about the functions and variables. For example, I cannot put another global var and call this name and it equals to Bob, because this will be a redeclaration of name variable that we already have. So what we can do if we want to use the name here, if I come to my test function and I say var name equals Bob, this is perfectly fine because this variable here, or another constant, if I put let age is equals to 90, this is perfectly fine because this is available only inside this test function. And if I say now name equals John, automatically my Xcode understands that we are talking about the name here. We're not talking about the name on the top here, because this and this, even though they have same name, they are totally different objects. So another good practice if you are going to become a developer is don't name your variables or your constants or your functions in the same view controller two different places having the same name, because this is going to confuse you later on when you are reading your code. So I don't know, you are talking about the variable name on the global variable or the local name here. So always name your variables or your functions differently. If you are using them inside a function, it doesn't matter, you have to name them so you can understand what we are talking about. So this is what our local and global variables are. So whatever we declare inside our class but not inside any of the functions, these are global for our class. But for example, if I were going to my app delegate, which is another class, as you can see here, and if I try to access one of the global variables, for example, name here, if I say name equals to, let's say, Mike, this is not going to work because there is no such variable inside my app delegate. Because as you can see, the name here is global variable for my view controller class only. So if I want to have general global variable for all throughout my project, what I could do is put this outside of my class. For example, if I say var name, let's say out name, so it's a different name of our variable, and then say that this is equal to Bob. And now this out name can be accessed even from my app delegate or any other class that we are creating. So say out name is equals to Mike. See, even Xcode marks it green because it understands what we are talking about here and understand that there is such kind of global variable for our class. But this is not a good practice to put these really global variables for throughout the project. Only in some cases when we are going to need them, we are going to create a separate file for them, because this way putting the variables outside of the class, it's kind of messy coding, so we're not going to use this. I'm just showing you that if you declare a variable outside of the class, it's going to be available throughout the project there. Also, I want to show you something here. For example, if you click on the option button and move it on your variable name or function name, and you click on it, it will give you some information where this is declared, etc. But if you click on the command button and click on the variable or on the function name, it will give you some more options like jump to definition. If you click on this, it will jump where this variable was declared. If we are talking about functions, if I click with the option command click on it, it will show jump to definition, which will be this function, or you can click on colors. So if, for example, I was calling this function in my view did load, so if I say test function, and let's say I am somewhere at the bottom here, so I don't know where my what type of functions are calling this function. If I click on it and say colors, this automatically should jump to the color of the function. Let's see, let's just quickly build so our Xcode knows what's going on. Now you see it jumps to our view controller and it shows where we are calling this function. And also here I can just say jump to definition. It will take me to where my function is declared. So this is a quick show you how and what global variables are. And we're not talking about only variables. This is same for constants, for variables, for functions. If this function is declared inside my view controller, I cannot go to a different view here, a view controller, and try to call my test func here. It's not going to work because there is no global test func declared anywhere. So this will give us an error. So now you understand that what the meaning of global and local variables are. And also outside of class you can declare a function, and this will be like some func, and this function will be true global function. So I can call this from anywhere from my project, because this doesn't belong to any class, doesn't belong to any view, it's just here. No matter in which view we are writing this, so it's treated by Xcode as a truly global variable throughout the project.